Good evening and welcome to a chilly late night dilly. Hey, that rhymes. Stay tuned. The Buddy Martin Show and Podcast is next.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to a chilly, downright freezing below Monday night. I'm Buddy Martin. The program is The Buddy Martin Show. Beginning of the new week. Glad to be with you today. Have an important announcement. You can probably see some of it at the top of the screen. Hope you folks will join me tonight for a little brief message. Before our guest, Graham Hall, the Minister of Information, who I just spoke with. He's got information about the new defensive back for the Florida Gators. Everybody seems to be very, very excited about it. Torian Gray. We're talking to Graham in about 10 minutes. Then later followed by the Iron Duke himself, Francis Beard. I'll take a quick moment and say thank you for tuning in. Backtosh, Andy, Michael, also, Susan, good to hear from you. Anybody heard from that Jennifer Lay? How about somebody rousting her out, will you please? Jeffrey Bennett, James Cope from Grand Bay, Alabama. Actually, I had a relatives that lived a way long time ago in Green Bay, Alabama. And yes, there is a Green Bay. At least there used to be. I was up there where the town was supposed to be about 25 years ago. And all I saw was a bunch of grass. Green Bay, Alabama. Donald, Chris, my man, Dr. DeCubitus in the house. Roger Burns, all the way over from Ningbo, China, our Asian ambassador. Andy Pham from down on the Gulf Coast. I hope it's not cold down there, because when it gets cold down there, it gets cold, Andy. Hello, Ed. Very pumped about Torian Green. All right, Ed, let's start to spell his name. Oh, you did get it right. Good for you. Good for you. Jake Allen, how are you? Kyle McGraw, Trey Jones, Jeffrey Bennett, Hans Moody, Steve Young, good evening. Johnny Casey, Quentin Cruz, Mike, forgive me, but I think it's Mahortis, but I'm not positive. Lynn Tyndall is going to break the message, and I'm going to put this up in just a second. Also, Kenny Nat, good to hear from the mayor of Newberry. And Danny, good evening to you. Okay, let's get right to it, all right? I've been waiting to say this for a long time, and I hope I say it right. I want to be very cautious how I say it, and I also want it to get a message to be clear, because this could be misinterpreted, all right? We have 1 week to go before our first birthday of Gator Nation Kingdom. Buddy Martin Show's been around for a long time, but the Gator Nation was born 51 weeks ago, when we know what happened. After the hiring of Dan Mullen, it's been an unbelievable year for us in many ways, except one. So we came together for a purpose, for a cause, and a special time. We've had a ball. And we're so happy the Gator Nation Kingdom is over 5,000 strong. As the Crown Prince said when he basically had the idea, we have too many factions who are spread apart and split. Need to be a sovereign Gator Nation. Too much bickering and worrying and complaining, whatever. And thus, Gator Nation Kingdom was born, and we have had a ball. with our tailgating and our getting to know each other, our conversations, our show, and I think we are now going to be able to find out if this Generation Kingdom wants to stay around. Because tonight, I'm asking the question, next Monday night, our first birthday, where do we go from here? What do we want to be? And I say we because it is we. And you got to remember that I do this show, but you all have a lot to say about what goes on in the Gator Nation Kingdom. And of course, our Chief Knight has done a fabulous job. We'll hear from him in just a minute. And we're going to measure our intent as to where we go from here. Because now it's time for a reality check. You can't go forward on fumes. I'm going to say this one time. You're never going to hear me complain or whine or beg. I've tried not to ever do that. But I will say this. We're to a point where after the second straight month of financing the Gator Nation Kingdom and this show out of my own pocket, it's time to make some decisions and we have to have some priorities. So what do we do? And I've thought about this for a long time. Some of you have talked with me about it. I've talked with my son, Brendan Martin, the Crown Prince. We tried a couple of things that didn't work that good. So now we have to say, is this something that can survive another month or two or whatever? Let me make one thing clear to you. I'm not looking to cut and run, okay? I am not looking to quit, walk away, resign. I'm just being a realist about if we're going to go forward, we're going to have this done together. So the reason that the green message is up there at the top, right there, keep the lights on for GNK, is that's why we have to, if we're going to do this, we have to do something about it. And so people ask me, what can I do? What can I do? I don't like to ask for funding or money. But today's model in this world, and we've researched it, a lot of companies and sites and what have you, and even things like yoga studios, do it through donations. Some of the most successful, Crown Prince told me this, successful yoga studios, I don't go to them, I wouldn't know, are ones run by donation from the people. So the simple question to you is, do you like what we do? Do you like the guests that we bring on board? Would you like to continue this the way we're doing it now? We're doing it 4 nights a week. I do a 5th show, a local show, which is really for this community, hometown, called Our Town. And then we get these guests because somebody has to spend a lot of time tracking them down. Someone's got to solicit ads. Someone has to try to sell advertising. And that's just me, one guy. And I'm at a point where I can't do all of that. I want to say in no way am I slighting those people who supported this show or disrespecting them, because I love you all. And I hope we can make this thing go for a long, long time. But we've got to make some decisions. The decisions start with, do you want this to keep going? I'm not going to throw an amount or ask an amount, but if you have something to share with us, if you can afford to share some of your money with us, make a donation to the Gator Nation Kingdom. And by the way, if you want to write a check, you can do that. Went out to Buddy Martin Media, as many of you have done. If you want to be a part of this and want to see us go forward, there's a Venmo account in the green bar up there, which I created just for this occasion. All this money will go toward supporting the things we do here on this program and in the show. You guys, Lynn Tyndall runs the Gator Nation Kingdom and his Knights, and you guys do a hell of a job. But here's what he's saying today, and I'll let him put this message up first. Here's what he's saying today about that. Spread the word, folks. We need donations to keep this going. Thus, keep the lights on for GNK. Send a Venmo account. Send an amount you determine to this Venmo account at Buddy Martin Show. That's at Buddy Martin Show. And I'll have this up here every day for the next couple of weeks. Or if you want to send a check to Buddy Martin Media. You see it in small type there. Here's the address. Make it out to Buddy Martin Media. Send it to 1524 Southeast 22nd Avenue, Ocala, Florida, 34471. There it is. And you get nothing in return. Although we may find some ways to reward you in other ways. Got a few things we can share. But what we try to do, look, we're not trying to have more information and more breaking news, and we don't have 10 people to cover it. We're not a newspaper. But we are going to get guests that bring you insight that we think you can't find anyplace else. Okay? And if you like them and you want to keep having them, then there you go. Jeffrey Bennett says, let's go fund or no. I'm not sure I understand that, Jeffrey. Thank you for this message from Nat Blaylock, and I will put it on the screen. Nat Blaylock, one of the originals, the mayor. Nat would come over to World of Beer in Gainesville and spend 2 hours helping me set up. He's an example of the people who have given to us, been so generous in their time, and also supported us financially. Back when we started trying to do the elite program, we wound up spending more for the elite program than we took in. That's not good math. So Nat says right there, it takes a lot of work for Buddy to do this show. It also takes funds to order, to take care of it, and purchase equipment. Buddy spends a lot of time lining up guests and getting ready for each. If you can help, please do. I intend on helping Buddy out this year, just like I did last year. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Thank you very much. Quentin Cruz, who's contributed in many ways to this show, been a very good poster and got good information. We love that. Says right here, if I get it to come on down here, Quentin says we should. This information we give out in GNK and the Buddy Martin Show is the first and foremost, the best of all other groups. All the other people have to pay for the information as VIP memberships. We actually don't have that anymore because we don't have VIP memberships anymore. But the ones who paid will be grandfathered in and all forevermore. And there wasn't that many, by the way. Less than 20, although we had 30 on the list. So that's okay. Look, I'm not complaining. You all been great. And here's something else Lynn said, which makes sense. Anybody knows a business who would like to partner up and help sponsor the shows? Please let us know. You know what, Matt Ellis? You're joking, but we'll take the $1.82. I can send $1.82 until payday. Listen, whatever. $1.82 is great. We'll take it. Okay? And I'm only going to spend 2 more minutes on this. I just want to say, I want to make sure that I thank all of you people out there. And also thank the sponsors, some of whom are still with us. I especially want to thank Daniel L. Hightower, Red Star Medical Research, Grinders Clothes for Men, Center State Bank, Mark's Prime, Ocala Quarterback Club, Danny Williams Appraiser, and Dr. Frank Cannon, Orthopedic. And also people who have sponsored in the past, like CD Farms, All Florida Sportswear, Tupperware Gin, AAA Tree Service, etc. So I do appreciate that. We'll see where it goes, okay? We'll see where it goes. We'll leave it up there. We want to talk about it a lot. That's tonight. And you have some very good comments on there, which you can read. Thank you, Michael. Let's put in relentless effort, like our Gators and Buddy and everyone else who works to make this happen. Keep the lights on. Yeah, keep the lights on GNK. Okay. And look, if you can't do anything, that's okay. You're welcome here. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, Trey. Put me down for $50. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Any little thing helps. All right, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do one of our commercials that we can do, and then we'll get back and we'll talk to the Ministry of Information and try to get you some information on Torian Gray. Thanks for tuning in tonight, all of you. Man, nice crowd. Stick with us now. We're going to have some good stuff coming up. And thank you for listening. We'll talk more about this down the road. We're not going to beg. We're just going to try to explain and hope. All right?
Job-related accidents create incredible stress on your finances, your relationships, and most importantly, your sense of well-being. When the adjuster is not approving benefits you're entitled to by law, you need Dan Hightower to help you understand all of your legal options. Daniel L. Hightower has been fighting for accident victim justice in Ocala and statewide since 1976. Call Daniel L. Hightower today to better understand all your legal options. 352-629-7777.
Out to the hotline and see if we can get a hold of our buddy Graham Hall, who is the Minister of Information, and see what he's got to offer. I talked to him earlier today. As always, I'm sure the minister will have something to offer on this. How cold is it at your house? Supposed to be below 40 here in Ocala tonight. I know I'm cold right now, so I bet you in Gainesville, where Graham is in that big old drafty mansion he lives in, probably a little chilly there too, as we welcome into the program tonight. Graham Hall, the Minister of Information. Hello, Graham.
Hey, buddy. How's it going? It was pretty chilly this morning. It was in the low 30s, but right now it's in the mid 40s. Won't be so bad tomorrow, but this is about the worst that us Floridians can stand, man.
Yes, it is. We don't like this.
Yeah.
Well, I called you earlier today, and I didn't realize the announcement was about to be made. And I've been hearing it all day, but I have not. I've been busy doing other things. I tweeted this out too. Didn't take DBU long to reload, did it?
No, it did not. And I think that, if you're Dan Mullen, you kind of got to be surprised that this guy kind of fell into your lap. I mean, Torian Gray was looking elsewhere. Let's establish that first and foremost. I mean, the Redskins, at the end of the season, once they didn't make the playoffs, told him they were not renewing him. And he, I was told about 6 offers from Power 5 programs over the last 3 weeks. Well, at least was looked at by 6 programs. I can't tell you for sure that he was offered, because in college sports, they're so quick to try not to, blow their leverage, so to speak, and get a name out there that really isn't ready to take the job. So this was something that you look at all the things that he checks off. Having already be familiar with Florida, there's a little adjustment period. Being a Lakeland native, having just recently coached in the NFL, which was probably Sal Sinceri's biggest selling point, and now you have it for your defensive backs coach when you're trying to rep DBU. I can't imagine that this, again, just viewed as a one-year hire. I imagine that when the contract gets released, we'll see that Florida is going to try and keep him on staff for 2-3 years, because we've seen the value of continuity. Up until last week, you and I were talking about, look how stable the coaching staff is. And in the last week, they had lost, 2 guys. Yeah. They possibly could lose a third still here.
Who's the third guy? I heard about that today.
Well, you never know. I mean, every defensive coach, I think that all the offensive coaches and then Christian Robinson are untouchable, I would say. And then there is some speculation that Ron English has pursued or at least looked at other opportunities around college football right now. And I don't know if that's something he initiated. I think that there's a desire, anytime you have 2 coaches splitting the secondary, there is a desire to look for places that offer greater coaching opportunities, because that's where the real money is, because they're basically splitting a salary. If you really think about it, it's a better chance also to get to the NFL. So it's natural for Warren. That was a big reason why he went to the UGA, was more responsibilities, better pay, and more chance to be involved in the defensive preparations. And same thing with Ron English. If he wants to get back to the NFL, which is, the cushiness, we think about the NFL as like, why wouldn't you want to do college football? But for coaches, they don't have to do any recruiting, and for position coaches, that's a big thing. So I don't know if that is going to happen, but for right now, Ron English is still on staff, and he welcomed Torian Gray today. And if those two are here past signing day, then I think Florida has a very talented group coming back. But again, anytime. You look at those offensive coaches that Mullen brought with him, the guys that he's known since 2001. And then you look at Christian Robinson. I've been telling people this, that outside of, or maybe even more important than all these coaching hires, is getting Christian Robinson paid what he's due. I mean, he made $190,000 last year and brought in what is poised to be, if DeJuan Black, does like like he should follow through and sign, it's going to be the highest rated linebacker class that Florida signed in more than a decade. So
really?
You have to get Christian Robinson.
I'd say, yeah.
Or someone's going to go out there and poach him to possibly be a young DC at some program, which is the next step for him. And if Florida wants to prevent that, they're going to need to pay him something of probably a $500,000 pay raise. Would be by my guess. I think he's proven it by all accounts, and you have to do that in today's day and age if you really do value that continuity that I was really speaking about, buddy.
Yes, and I think that continuity certainly is a proven commodity as we've seen everywhere else. Well, look, it's not just happening here; it's happening to Nick Saban. He's got 6 guys or maybe more. I can't count anymore. It's amazing how many.
And he's frustrated with that. He is very frustrated with that. He's tired of people viewing Alabama as a one-year landing spot, similar to Coach Cal, I guess, was with his recruitment of players there in 2010, 2011, was tired of getting guys who would be in 1 year and use the program, so to speak, to better themselves, because that is going to die out in recruiting, just like we talk about, the negatives that come with Charlton Warren having to recruit players while saying, come play for me, when there's a very good opportunity that everyone that he signs may not be there because he's on his third school in 3 years. So that's always something that you have to factor into the day-and-day, college football business, is that everything can change in one day.
Yeah. All right, so there was a bunch of change. Alabama had some more of his change. I honestly made my head swim with all the changes. Sunseri, and I don't know in the sum total of this, I still can't figure out, other than assistant coaches must be doing really well. There's a lot of competition for good ones. And people know you have to leverage your position. And it's got to be quite a dog-eat-dog game.
You have to weigh your odds, too. I think that's the biggest one. Look at Charlton Warren's situation.
Well, I want to talk about that, because that's one that really, I think there's a beef on that one. Real beef.
Well, some people look at what he did as pretty shady because, again, it's the same thing he just did at Tennessee. It's kind of like, dating someone who, knew you, I don't know, that you knew their past and you knew what you were getting into, and then all of a sudden you're, surprised once they do it to you. Florida, poached Charlton Warren, who was recruiting kids the whole year to come to Tennessee, and now he just did the same thing, and he leveraged his job to keep bettering himself, climb the rungs of the ladder, so to speak, because he knew that not being, in Mullen's quote unquote inner circle, which is, those guys that he's coached with for 2+ decades, that he was always up for, reconsideration. And that Georgia opportunity may not be there the next day, and he has no guarantee that he's going to be on staff at this point next year. And you can't, if you have that good of an opportunity awaiting you to keep bettering yourself, to get to the NFL, to rise up. And let's not kid ourselves. Georgia, to have more responsibility, better pay at Georgia, that is an upgrade in a job. And we can totally see it from Marco Wilson's standpoint of why wouldn't you want to coach the best defensive backs in the country? Or we could see it as Charlton Warren, if he really wants to reach the peak of the position, or maybe be a defensive coordinator or a head coach if he thinks that's down the line for him. This is the next step for him, and it doesn't make maybe immediate sense, but if in 5 years it results in him either being in the NFL or being a head coach, then who's us to say that that's not the right move? But this is probably one of those coaching carousel things, and it re-emphasizes, buddy, why we had this early signing day instituted, because kids are convinced if you want to sign early to the school, knowing that all this coaching carousel stuff could happen, this is an opportunity for you to lock in your spot. But that with all this time until you enroll, the coaches could be gone any single day.
Sure.
And
any second.
It gives schools a chance also to salvage their class and not having to worry about if they lose coaches down the stretch. Is all their class going to fall apart and jump apart? Are they going to have to do all this extra recruiting? Right. It's probably saving a lot of schools a lot of money if you really, someone ran the financials of it.
Yeah. Let me throw this at you, okay? I've been thinking about it a lot. And when I think a lot about something, it's always trouble. But I've been trying to put the places in my mind in terms of, is this just how the times have changed? And maybe I haven't caught up, or is this, are the values different? I'm not going to be one of those get off my lawn guys, okay? I know things change, and you have to keep up with the times. And recruiting certainly is always changing. But let me just say this. I go back to the day when it was really, coaching was still a bit of a gentleman's game. Not that they wouldn't, cut you know what off if they could do it to win the game.
Sure.
But there are things like, it still bothers me to see a coach try to freeze a 19-year-old kid on a field goal by calling a timeout. I know it's part of the game, but I think back, would Bear Bryant have done that? Hell no. He wanted to win as bad as anybody. I'm not saying he's the paragon of all coaching can be, especially today. I saw this change under Urban Meyer. How
Sure.
Did you flip another guy? No. You mean quietly do it, but you wouldn't go after voraciously after somebody else's recruit. If you could do it secretly, you'd do it. It just wasn't acceptable behavior. And I've seen this whole dynamic, this paradigm change where it's all about the winning. It's always been all about the winning. It's just what was acceptable behavior, all right? Now it's gotten to a point where people are really pushing the envelope. And there's some coaches who get right this close to the line and a few steps over it, and you have to say, okay, are you going to tell me that Warren can live with himself after what he apparently did? As I understand it, I don't know the full story, but it sure looks like when he left at a time when the prize recruit was here, and he wanted to embarrass everybody, maybe about getting Elon to flip, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. But that to me is just not just poor sportsmanship. That's borderline sabotage. In the NFL, they call it tampering, And I almost wish there was a way to govern this, somehow to regulate it or something, although I have no idea.
Only there was this 4-letter word, this overarching government called the NCAA.
Right.
Putting rules that would limit how much coaches could. No, I see what you're saying, and there are purists in every sport. In soccer, it's, get this replay out of here, and in baseball, I'm sure there's some. I just don't know.
I'm not going that far now. I'm not going there.
But what I'm saying is I'm at Florida fans, it happens everywhere. This time last year, I wrote when we talked to Trey Dean, he said it was crazy that he was recruited by Tennessee and Florida, and then he shows up on his official visit to Florida, and Charlton Warren's there. And he said, wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. And we all wrote about it, and Florida fans were like, oh, what a savvy move by Dan Mullen, getting him in there right when Trey Dean was there. And that helped lock up Trey Dean and get him on campus. And he was a big part of Florida's secondary this year when Marco, especially after Marco Wilson went down the second game, and Florida fans were loving that move when Charlton Warren did that to Tennessee, and Jeremy Pruitt was mad, and they were happy about that. But now it gets done to you, and at first you're like, okay, this is bad, but why would he do this? But you knew that that's how you got him in there, right? And that's the business. That's the business aspect of it. And you asked when it changed. Well, I'm not going to say Bear Bryant. He probably saw it coming this way.
Hey, he cheated. He cheated. I mean, he was a cheater.
I think if you had told him, 50 years ago that, hey, that game is going to have, millions, potentially millions if you factor in the betting and what it can bring to towns through future games. That this decision, if you try and ice this kicker, it can, lower the chances of him hitting this field goal, and it could potentially bring millions of dollars more to this city and these fans.
That's what I got to do. I'm in the wrong business. So,
he never probably would have envisioned all that. But this game became so much more serious to so many more people. Where people are booing and yelling obscenities at 17, 18-year-olds all the time and on social media because everyone essentially has money on the line, whether you're at home betting about it or you're making the trip 4 hours to watch your favorite team or you're paying for that huge screen TV. Everyone has some money on the line, and I think that's probably when it happened, or whether it's your time. that's another thing as well that the game didn't used to be this 4 hour, you had to watch a million commercials thing as well, right? You can tell me if I'm wrong. And
no, you're absolutely right. There's no doubt. Look, I mean, I know you can't really. This is not the real world I'm talking about.
I'm just saying this is only one. This is one of the consequences of all those things.
I understand. Unintended consequences.
Whatever. The business aspect.
But at some point, somebody has to stop and say, "Hey, come on, man! Somebody's got to say enough already. It won't change, but at least you can yell and scream at it." We only got. I want to make sure I get these questions in before I lose you, and I want you to talk to me more about this Warren thing. What do you know about the dynamics of this decision? I read everything was online about it. Did he in fact orchestrate it, as far as we know? And as one of the several people are saying, hey, we wound up doing better. Ed Stellerman says, I've been thanking the Poodles fans for taking Warren from us. We upgraded.
No, this is an upgrade. Here's the upgrade. Even if Warren, Georgia may not end up getting Kaiir Elam still.
Right.
People think right away, oh man, he did this for Kaiir Elam. Torian Gray knows Abram Elam extremely well. Extremely well. Him and this dude, I think his name is, maybe it's Guy Flowers. You guys got to look this up, or I'll send it to you later. He's basically known Kaiir his whole life. And they used to play together, Abram and this guy Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look this up. Someone out there, go do this research for me before it drives me crazy. But in essence, Torian Gray has possibly an even better long-standing relationship with Kaiir Elam and a better pedigree of putting defensive backs in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaiir Elam's biggest, recruiting thing that he loves about Florida is not Charlton Warren, it's Dan Mullen. And, by all accounts, let's look at it. Kaiir Elam was on campus. They took him to the Georgia basketball game. Florida won that game by 10 points there in Athens. He finished up his official visit, and, this is going to sound so crazy even coming out of my mouth, but he didn't post any pictures of his official visit on his Twitter account or a glowing review like he did of Florida. And those things just seem weird to me. And Kaiir had been talking about playing with Chris Steele, for a long time. So all I'm saying is, by no account is Florida out of this just because Charlton Warren is at Georgia. And Charlton Warren only did this not to possibly get Kaiir Elam to Georgia. He did this to better himself, better his potential coaching career, and maybe that is done by getting a talent like Kaiir Elam.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, I'm with you. And a lot of people are giving you high fives on this too online, talking about Lynn Tindall, the gangs. So you're right on. All right. So what about the defensive line coach prospect?
Well, there's a few names out there right now. I do think that it'll be done by Thursday. That's the day.
Well, that's fast. He just lost these guys.
It should be done before that. It should be done tomorrow. If we're being realistic, I think there's a few names out there. You possibly could have Chris Bogle on campus for an official visit this weekend. I think that you look at the names out there. I would say the hot name out there is David Turner, who coached at UTSA. I think that he's near the top of their list. I would think, barring anything falling through, that he would be the one that they try and get on campus. I don't know where they're at in that process right now. I know that the two big things, like I said, Christian Robinson's contract and the defensive line. Robinson will be last, but there are a few names out there, but Turner's the one I'd watch. If you don't see something on Turner in the next 24 hours, then they're probably on a candidate number 2, unless I've been pretty wrong before.
Well, here's what I liked about this, and I'm gonna have to let you go because I've been backed up. We could do a whole hour, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
You just don't have time. I mean,
we'll do one episode.
All right, we'll do another one when it's good. But here's the thing now where we stand, and when Charlton left and when Kirby pulled the little coup he got, the Bulldogs apparently were dancing in the streets, from what you hear, right? We one-upped you, Gators, whatever, maybe. Little did they know that DBU could replace that guy in 48 hours with a better guy. Okay? There's your DBU right there, okay? That speaks volumes right there. And now he's going to come back and he's going to get a defensive line coach. I don't know how to compare the two, but let's just say apparently he comes with a lot of rep. And I've read his bio, and I know a little bit about who he coached with. So Mullen's going to get good coaches, all right? And the solidarity of the core he's got there, including Nick Savage, including, Billy Gonzalez, including Hevesy and that whole gang. That core.
That's a rare commodity.
That's rare, having that kind
loyalty.
Of right. And, again, like we say, stay loyal to the kingdom, brother.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that loyalty, like you're saying right there, with especially that reflects in all of our lives. And, it being MLK Day, I do think that it's a time to think of values more so than anything, and to think about your inner values. And we all have different ones for sure. And loyalty is a big one for sure. And I know we talk about sports all the time, and it's just sports, but, there's bigger things in life for sure. Yeah, buddy, always a pleasure to be here and talk football with you guys.
Here's a guy, Skylar Hicks, says, hey, I'm in Warner Robins, Georgia. What channel do you come on? It's called Facebook, baby. And the Minister of Information is with us once again, knocks it out the park.
Thanks, buddy. Y'all take care out there.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Graham. Talk to you soon, all right? Graham Hall, knocking it out the park, That's what I love about it. All right, we're going to have to call the Iron Duke. He gets a little grumpy if I go too long and don't call him. So let's see if I can find all these windows open. I got to see if I can reach. Where are you, friends? And Skype is playing tricks on me tonight. They're not helping me out at all. So I'm going to jump in here and see if I can get him. And how's everybody tonight? Hey, thanks for your generosity out there, folks. Thanks very much for that. I appreciate that very, very much. Makes my heart good, feel good. There are people who really care that much. Now, if we just get a hold of Franz Beard, we'll be good. Franz, if you're watching, call me, and I'll Skype you in, all right? And while I do a commercial here, I want to be sure and thank these people who supported us, particularly like the folks at Rinstar Medical Research. We appreciate that very much. And they do so many good things here in our community, not the least of which is the great research their company there does to take care of folks who need help. I don't think you realize the magnitude of this, that they do this high-end research at a superior medical research facility, Rinstar Medical Research, and they have a reputation here that's absolutely excellent. And their information is so pristine, so good, that they are able to send it off to leading research clinics and biomedical companies who will take that data and then actually will use it to do study and tests to make new drugs to treat the people who need it for things like Alzheimer's and psoriasis and migraine headaches, osteoarthritis, etc. And it's done right here, closely guarded by the FDA. And safety is a big thing. Rinstar Medical Research in Ocala. If you have problems with memory loss, and you get to be my age, which is over 40, you start thinking, am I having a little problem? Is this normal? Or, gosh, I can't find my car keys, and you get a little worried. Well, if you're having symptoms of memory loss, I got a place you can go. You might qualify for free testing. And these are people who are very, very scrupulous folks, and I would trust them implicitly. As far as I'm concerned, that's your decision on you. But if you want to know about, if some people have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, it's a scary thing in our society today. So I don't want to scare you, but I want to tell you, if you have questions, and we all do, call Ocala 352-629-5800, or visit online at www.rinstar.net and ask them about these tests they're doing and how you can get involved. You can actually take part in some of these tests and other tests as well. So call them and go by and see the folks at Rinstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Also very involved in our community things like Scott Brantley Foundation and the Scott Brantley Trophy, which is coming up. We're going to announce it a week from Friday. There could be somebody around here. You're going to be very pleased when we tell you who that is. So I'm going to come back and tell you about Center State Bank in a minute. But let's say once again, I posted the message up there about the Venmo account. Some of you have already participated. Thank you very much. We're not going to sit there and beg or whatever. We just want to say that it's there. If you feel like you want to contribute to it for the group, better for the cause, that's great. We appreciate it very much. Now let's see if we can go get Francis Beard, and he's out there right now chewing his cud, saying, "You know what a cud is?" I bet Chris does. Absolutely. We will see if we can reach out for the Iron Duke, and thank you to the lovely Mrs. Martin for a cup of tea. It's always good to have a cup of tea when it's cold like tonight. I bet you Francis Beard is up there. He's, we lost Francis. Let's see if we can just try again. There he is. There he is. Hello, Francis.
Hello, Bud Light.
I'm cold tonight. Are you?
You betcha. I'm moving to Florida. I understand it's warm there.
Nah, not true. Nah. Yeah, Palm reminds me of my late friend Augie Griner from St. Louis, who took a scholarship to Florida basketball sight unseen and got to the Gainesville airport and actually got in a cab and went out and got in a cab and says, "Which way is to the beach?" He said, "Where are the palm trees?" He said, 80 miles to your east.
Well, you recall the late Al McGuire, who was when he was originally, his first head coaching job was Belmont Abbey. And at Belmont Abbey, which is outside Charlotte, at the time in the 50s, a little bitty school, not much of a campus, probably only had about 400 or 500 students at the time, played their games in this tiny gymnasium. And we used to say the dressing rooms for the visitors, which were down in the basement, were the catacombs. And Al would to recruit kids from New York, which is what he had. He got famous as a coach. Yeah. This was his job. He would send them pictures of the Duke campus and tell them, "Look, we're a small Catholic school. We don't have a big recruiting budget. Can't afford to bring you here on a recruiting trip." So I had a photographer take these beautiful color photos of our campus, sends them pictures of the Duke campus, and these kids show up on the bus and they go, "Where's the Duke Chapel?"
Oh boy, Albert, he was a beaut, wasn't he?
Oh, he was one of my friends, and he used to send me these postcards from places where he had traveled, because he left for a month every year on a vacation by himself. He said it was what kept him married. And he always signed his postcards, seashells, balloons, blue skies, and rainbows. Al.
Absolutely. He had lots and lots of terms that were corny, but he was Dick Vitale before Vitale. But with
he actually knew what he was talking about.
Right, exactly. With more basketball knowledge than Vitale has. And I give Vitale a lot of credit. He's done well in his career. He's a good man, actually. All right, so Iron Duke, we were talking this afternoon, and there's a lot of discussions about Charlton Warren, and now about a guy that you promised me, and I know a little bit about him, not much, is better.
Oh, vastly superior.
Yeah, who's there. I want you to walk me through first the Charlton Warren situation. I want to kind of forget about it, but if I understand this right, this outrages me. I understand coaches change jobs. I get all that. It happens all the time. People are going to leave, whatever. But to plan orchestration of this borderline sabotage and if it were NFL, it would be treated. It would be probably be tampering, And I'm thinking, how far is this going to go? And they're using the players as a, as a pawn before something, or will it ever be done? There's no such thing as a gentleman's agreement anymore.
Well, first off, nothing will get done. Secondly, Kirby's smart. I don't have anything good to say about Kirby. I really don't. I know there are people who think he hung the moon. I don't think so. I think he's a snake in the grass. And he's proven it here. There's a reason why guys like Jim Chaney make a lateral move to Tennessee. There's a reason, Charlton Warren was brought to Georgia for one specific purpose, and that was to land Kyer Elam and Mark Anthony Richards, that in the recruiting class. And, they can dress it up, sugarcoat it, claim anything and everything they want. I mean, to tell you, and they will. But guess what? This is reality. This is why he was hired. They gave him a great big raise, but I'm going to give you two little nuggets here, buddy. First and foremost, he's been replaced by somebody who will forget more coaching in the next 24 hours than Charlton Warren will know in the next lifetime. And secondly, Kyer Elam and Mark Anthony Richards, I would be shocked if they're anything but Gators, and I feel certain they're not going to be Poodles.
Good to know. I think I see this progressively. I mentioned this last segment, that things are changing. The dynamics of the coaching world and the so-called ethics between coaches is and I know I'm old, and I know things have changed It changed when Urban was here. People didn't go after each other, at least openly, players, and try to poach them as much, at least as openly and aggressively as they did when Urban was here. Ray Graves would have never done that, right? I mean, there's a few. It just wasn't the thing to do. Now, I'm not stupid, and I understand that. I'm not naive. I understand it went on, just not as aggressively. And now it's all part of the policy. It's like I told somebody before. I don't even like it when they try to freeze kickers and go out and take timeouts. I don't like that. But that's the way the game is played. How far will things like this go until someone says, this is a terrible example to be setting for young people, how to conduct yourself, And how far can people go in stealing the recruits? Not just stealing recruits, but trying to sabotage a program, okay? Right?
Well, first and foremost, the negative recruiting that's out there is unbelievable. The amount of trashing, I got to tell you what, you can't believe the stuff that went on back. The Pouncey twins committed to the Gators back in June of 2006. They both early enrolled, came on campus in January. But between June and the time they stepped on campus, you cannot believe the crap that went on from the school out west. It was unbelievable. It was low blow, you name it. And, I kept the twins did a weekly diary for me. I'd call them up on Sunday night, and they'd tell me all about the game the week before. And it's funny. It comes the Florida State game, and they go up there to FSU, and the next thing you know, they left at halftime. They just said, "Gosh," he said, they use this stuff. Florida, they use Gatorade. We went in there looking for Gatorade. They gave us this stuff that Coca-Cola makes called Powerade. It's terrible. But the twins took it the twins took it with good hearts and everything like that. They were good natured about it. But the stuff that was going on in the recruiting, which was negative, was unbelievable. Spurrier saw that. I'll give you a good example. His 1998 class, his class, they were recruited, was it 98 or was it 99? It was 99. His 1999 recruiting class. Now it turned out to be one of the greatest recruiting classes in Florida history. Rex Grossman, Jabbar Gaffney, people like that in this class. And at the time on signing day, everybody thought, oh my gosh, it was gloom and doom. Lito Shepherd was in that class. Unbelievable the amount, and I think more than half the class ended up in the NFL. But Florida missed out on Anquan Bolden out of Pahokee and Nick Maddox out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Both these guys the night before and the morning of signing day were committed to being Gators. They told the Florida coaching staff, we're going to be Gators. And stuff happened between 7 a.m. and, say, 10 a.m. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details on it because some of this stuff I'd have to reveal sources to back it up. But I got to tell you what, it was pretty ridiculous what went on. And these guys end up going to FSU. Spurrier, I know, was just shaking his head. But that's the way the recruiting was at the time. Yeah. And it was a terrible, terrible thing the way it happened in those days. And it still goes on. It's only gotten progressively worse through the years. Yeah. And now it's to the point, as you just mentioned, where it's not just bad enough that you negative recruit the kids, you go out and try to steal coaches with the idea that if we steal the coach, we can steal the players too.
Right. So it's the wrong message. Wrong message.
It's a horrible message. And ethics are, there are coaches out there that I think need a real good refresher course in ethics. And I wish that the SEC, I wish Greg Sankey would lead the way and say, okay, guys, here's the deal. You negative recruit, and I find out about it, there's going to be hell to pay.
Well, hey, look, in the NFL, there's tampering, right?
Yeah.
This is borderline sabotage and center. I want to reserve a couple of minutes for something you and I never do, but I think there's a couple of performances that are not in college football that are, in fact, in the NFL I want to talk about, all right? And one of them is a revelation to me. The other one is, I think we're seeing a superstar broadcaster develop right before our eyes in Tony Romo. He is getting rave reviews. I didn't pay that much attention to it yesterday, but those that did said, and I did hear him anticipate making calls, the New England calls, before they made them and tell them what play they were going to call. He was brilliant, and I never heard anybody. Everybody loves to bitch about the announcer. I mean, I've seen 15 or 20 people raving about Tony Romo.
You want to know something? I have nothing against Troy Aikman, but Troy Aikman isn't even in Tony Romo.
Yeah, no way.
Tony Romo,
fresh and bright and smart.
Yesterday, when the Patriots scored the game-winning touchdown, or it was a first down, I can't remember which one it was. He makes the comment, okay, if they come up to the line and they snap it quick, it's going to be a quarterback sneak. If it's not, they're going to do this. But the place where they can get the yards is on the outside. So Burkhead gets stopped on a 4th and short. Next time down, it's like Romo says, are they going to do the same thing again and let Burkhead get stopped? Or going to let the back get stopped up the middle because they're stuffing it? Or are they going to go out wide? They go wide, boom, get the first down and then some. And it really, really was outstanding.
It was like someone said, who was another announcer saying, Doring said he made a good point. He said, I never was much of a real big fan of Romo's. He said because the job of the analyst is to talk about what he's seeing and not what he's going to see. But he said, I have to admit, the way he called those games last night, he actually predicted which way Brady was going to go, what play he's going to call. He said, watch him, he's going to go off right or off left. I mean, the nuances he was able to see was brilliant. I've never seen broadcasting. So
when he makes a point, he says, if they move Gronkowski outside, they'll go to it.
Yeah.
Sure enough, what happens? Every time they move Gronkowski outside, guess what? They go to him.
It's almost like he was in the huddle.
Yeah. I was not a big Tony Romo fan when he was a quarterback. I really wasn't. I always thought that he got injured a lot. I thought that, I grew up with guys like Johnny Unitas and hearing stories about Johnny Unitas with an ear that had to be stitched back on, that was hanging by a thread, and he had blood pouring off him. I grew up with the pictures of Y.A. Tittle sitting at midfield in New York with blood pouring down off his head.
Well, you don't have to go that far back. Just go back to Scott Brantley.
I grew up with Terry Bradshaw getting absolutely beaten to a pulp and yet hanging in there, wouldn't leave the game. And Romo, Romo kind of reminded me of, he was the NFL's version of Horace Grant. The Horace Grant would get a hangnail and he'd miss 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you something. As an analyst, he is a better analyst than he ever was a football player. And Jim Nantz, I'll give Jim Nantz tremendous credit too. Jim Nantz knows just exactly how much rope to give him, when to reel him in, when to cut him off. Jim Nantz is at the top.
Yeah, he's very good. Well, good friend of mine, terrific on golf as well. I know not many people care about it, but I do. And by the way, let me say that I didn't want to spend all this time talking about the horrendous officiating.
Oh.
I'm not going to get into it because we do an hour. I just said in my little tweet, I gave the award for the Stevie Wonder award to who. Okay, what a horrible no call that was.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't want to get into it too far because I eat up a half hour.
I'm going to make one comment about it. Even if you don't want to call the pass interference call, they should have the power in the booth to call targeting, because that was clear targeting.
Yeah, well, they should have called it. They should have had. They're going to have replay next year. There's no question on pass interference. They're going to have it.
Well, at least give the targeting, because if they had called targeting in a personal foul, right there would have been just as good.
There's so many things wrong all the way around there. Both games was decided by, as Lynn points out, by a game. But I want to get that kudo in there for the terrific job. Now, I have a friend of mine who's a former sports editor of the Boston Globe and of the Dallas Morning News, who never gets involved in these kinds of things. But he tweeted out, which he never does, why don't they just go ahead and make Tony Romo the damn coach of the Cowboys?
Well, because Jerry Jones would never let him.
Well, we know. we understand. I'm just saying, though, it does make sense. We've known other people who have been successful in the booth, who went to the field and were successful. It happens. So
yeah. Well, I got to tell you something. Romo is one smart cookie. And again, let me go back to one thing. He and Jim Nantz are a fantastic broadcast team.
They are.
Nantz is the best play-by-play guy in the business, period.
Well, that's how I used to feel about Summerall, too, until he got a little slower. So, Pat was a wonderful, majored in Russian, and by the way, at Arkansas. Okay, friends, before we go, I posted tonight the Keep the Lights On for GNK. I've told the group about what we're going to do, and I've asked them if they want to see this stay around. They need to tell their friends about it, and I wanted to, and to also, if they can afford to contribute, great. We don't charge, obviously. We're doing this for the right reasons. Franz is one of the most generous people you'll ever meet in your life. He's brought so much of this organization in the last year of himself, not with no gain, no money. And it's the spirit of giving and generosity like that of people that have made this what it is. Guys like Bubba, who just mentioned I love his show. Guys like Lynn. I'm going to start naming it. And Nat and on, all of it. David Soderquist and et cetera.
Richie Robinson.
Yeah, Richie we haven't heard from for a long time. We're sorry to hear that, but maybe we will. Thanks to Michael Matthews. He just sent us $100 in our Venmo account to support us. But we're not going to beg here every night and ask for money. We'll just say, if you like what we do, send me so I can buy Fran's lunch. I can at least buy him lunch after a year. I owe him that much, okay? And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you, Franz. We've been friends a long time, and what you bring to us, both in your writing, which, by the way, I promise you I'm going to get to it and do my part on the writing, as well as your nightly appearances on the show. So, you folks out there, if you want to see more Franz, want to see him around, do what you can. All right, any final thoughts on the basketball team?
The basketball team has
good win.
It's a win. It's a very winnable ball game. If they lose this one, they're in trouble. Then they still may be. Losing Keith Stone is huge.
Just when he started playing, good.
Well, it seemed that he was breaking out of his slump and was really, focused on the defensive end and on the offensive end. And to lose him, because, they can't play Bassett and Kavarius Hayes at the same time, simply because they're the only two big guys. He's going to have to play Isaiah Stokes. I know he wants Isaiah Stokes to get healthy. And, if anybody has a direct line to Benny Hinn that could get him to come to Gainesville and visit with Gorjak Gak, that would be really helpful too, because obviously he needs a faith healer, because if they just had him for 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes a ball game, it could really dynamically alter. This team plays unbelievable defense. I was looking at their numbers. They're only giving up 61 points a ball game. They're a fine defensive ball club. But they have the offensive shortcomings, and they're going to get worn down with only two big guys. They're going to get worn down because, you go up there against Kentucky. Kentucky's huge. You go up there against Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't have that. Tennessee doesn't have the tall bodies, but they got the big bodies. These 6'7", 250, 6'6", 240 guys like that.
That's why number one in the country.
Yeah, well, and could win it all. I've said that from the beginning of the season. Tennessee could win the national championship. I never thought I'd say that in basketball, but I can say it. Rick Barnes has done a terrific job, and former Gator assistant Rob Lanier is terrific. He's Rick's right-hand man. Rick and Larry Shyatt are closest of friends, and someday, I over lunch or something, I got to tell you some stories about Rick Barnes and Larry Shyatt hooking up at Peach Jam, which will just kill you. They're funny, but Florida is 10-7. They've got 13 games in the SEC left, and they have a game with Oklahoma. So 14 ball games out there. They're going to have to get to 19 wins before the SEC tournament. I'm convinced of that, to make the NCAA. 19 wins in the regular season, and then say a win at the SEC tournament gets them to 20. Should get them in there in the bottom half of the bracket. By that I mean number 9 through 16 seeds, somewhere in there. Probably a 9 through 12. But Florida could do that with 19 wins. So that means they got to go 9-5 the rest of the way. Can they do it? I don't know. I really don't know, because if they hit shots, buddy, they can beat just about anybody. As we saw when they were playing Tennessee, at that point when they were hitting shots, they were beating Tennessee, and then all of a sudden the shots dried up and they lost that ball game. But this is a team that could win some games. Now tomorrow night They get the Aggies, and I got to tell you what, Billy Kennedy, the Buzzards are circling Reed Arena in College Station because his days as the head coach there, I'm afraid, are gone. Really good guy, very good basketball coach, but I think his team has quit on him. He played walk-ons most of the second half the other day in their loss to Missouri. And when you do that, that tells me your team's quit on you.
All right, Francis, while you were talking, we raised enough money for me to buy you a steak for lunch.
So at the Waffle House?
Oh, we'll go down to our favorite spot.
All right.
You know,
well,
and Micanopy.
Okay, the Awful House is open though. Never forget that.
There you go. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go here because I got to do a couple of things in the other room. But thank you. Have a good night. Appreciate your time. Good job as usual. Next column, you got one up there now. What's your next one after this?
Well, I'm going to talk about Torian Gray and what a rock solid hire this was. I'm also going to talk about the fact that Baseball America's poll came out. Gators are number 4. 3 SEC teams in the top 4 in the preseason for Baseball America. Vandy number 1, LSU 2, Florida 4. Going to be a really good baseball team.
Good stuff from the Iron Duke. Don't forget, check it out. It's the thoughts of the day. Thank you, Francis.
Thanks, now, buddy.
All right, good night. All right, Francis Beard. All right, I just want to tell you about Center State Bank before I go to bed tonight, and thank the folks over there. I have had some really loyal people, and I don't mean to sound like I'm not grateful. I am. It's just we come to this time where we got to make some other decisions. And thank you for your response tonight. Boy, that was super. Great. If we keep this up, we might be able to do this thing together. That would be great. Got the best Gator fans in the world right here. Right here. Okay. Center State Bank, I want to tell you about this. This is my bank here on Silver Springs Boulevard. They have these core values called long-term horizon on their debt, world-class service, relationship banking. They're locally market-driven. They believe in faith and family. You can check them out online, centerstatebank.com, and find a bank near you. 82 locations in 30 Florida counties. And you can, if you're in town and want to see mine, it's beautiful. It looks like something from Gone with the Wind. Out on Silver Springs Boulevard, about a mile east of downtown. Or call them at 352-368-6800. If you want to know more about good banking, community banking, go there. If you want to just stop in and get a good chocolate chip donut, chocolate chip cookie, they'll be gone by 1 o'clock, so you better go there. You can do that. Center State Bank, check out one near you, centered on community and customer service. And with that, we will say, once again, reminding you, take a screenshot of that so you don't forget it. It's very simple. I'll send it out a couple of times online. It's Buddy Martin Show on Venmo, or mail a check to Buddy Martin Media, 1524 Southeast 22nd Avenue, Ocala. Appreciate so much you being here tonight. Thanks to our guest friends and the Minister of Information, Graham Hall. Like somebody said, where are you going to get stuff like that? Nowhere else around here. So I'll say good night to you. We'll see you tomorrow.